It happened so quick, the very instant. I mean, watching the whole thing transpire, and then, he was having no problem talking to the officer, tap on the shoulder. You could hear him laughing and talking over there.
He was actually laughing when you heard him talk?
I heard the officer, and I seen him smiling at each other, and he's laughing, and Dan's an old World War II vet, the old grandpa slap on the shoulder, and jokes around with the guys, like say something like, I think I can take you, like to the biggest guy as a joke. And it happened so quickly. I was on right here, and they were over there, so I don't know what words, were said. I can't speculate on that, but, because it happened so quickly. But he, if he did anything like that, it had to have been like one of those, like, I had to, punch you, buddy, or, like he would have talked to him more like a son than anything else. Because if you've known the guy, if he makes it through the surgery, because he's in surgery right now, and if you ever met the guy, you'd realize he's not that kind of person. That he's never been arrested. He's never ever caught. He's been, here for a year. I mean, we feel so bad about it. I was ready to close our business today because I just thought, if this is what it's come to try to run a business in town.
It's not what happened, though. Did you ever see him try to throw a punch at this officer, and does that sound like him?
Not at all. Absolutely not. That's what I mean. If he did anything, it was one of those, stupid guy gestures that the young officer, with some kind of a complex, utilized that, I think, to show up in front of his female counterpart to flip the guy over. And it was just way excessive. I was an embassy guard in Saudi Arabia and South Korea in the Marine Corps. And I've seen guys have to do all kinds of, I was in the infantry, I've seen guys have to do all kinds of stuff, but I've never seen anybody pick up an old man and slam him on his head. And there's lots of ways he could have disarmed him. Lots.
How big is the officer compared to how big Dan is?
There's maybe a few inches between them.
Okay.
Like Dan might be 5'10", and the other officer might be 5'9", but I mean, it was.
It's not like the officer was so much smaller, or so much bigger.
I think it was just a lack of experience. I mean, it's in any job, attorneys, journalists, whatever, you're going to have good and bad, you're going to have inexperienced and experienced. I just think he had no experience, and he should have been on patrol with the more experienced officer. The way it looked like is you had two, rookies together, and with no experience, in an area which, if they, anybody's noticed, since we've had an influx of people in the area because of, few businesses opening down here, and we've always been kind of a slow part of town right here in between downtown and Winter Park, and we've tried to keep it a, a little kind of neighborhood home thing and have people come and visit and, eat and shop and not be like the downtown thing. Well, it's been a little bit busier lately. We've had a stabbing and a shooting, and...
You think he just used poor judgment?
Absolutely. I mean, there was absolutely no reason for it. I mean, even if he put his hands up, if you've seen this guy, he has a hard time navigating, regardless of what they're saying his blood alcohol is at that time. Even in real life, normal, whatever, walking around, he has a hard time getting on and off the curb. You could have pushed him over with your finger. But, a child bumping into him hard, he'd lose his balance. So he could have, there was just no reason for it.
I mean, again, were you watching it from over here, and you didn't see him draw a punch?
And yeah, that's what I was saying. Even if he was going to do something, the guy's so slow. All you had to do is step back or something. It wasn't like, it's like his son said. It's not like he's going to fight. I mean, he has so much respect for the military and law officers that, it's just the irony that this happened to him of all people. It's just, and the way they're portraying that belligerent, drunk, and aggressive and mean and everything. It's just, I'm sorry to say, but they're covering their tracks, and I know I'm going to probably get stuck in a courtroom now because of it, but he was inexperienced, and that's just wrong. And if you would have seen it happen, anybody seen it happen, it would have been just, I'd never felt. It's just like watching your parents get hit. It's pretty bad. I mean, Well, it would be like somebody.
I want to be able to hear what you're saying.
It would be like somebody hitting your grandparents.
That's the way you felt when you watched it.
If you'd known the guy, it's that bad.
Was it upsetting to you? Still now? How do you feel about it if he's in the hospital?
I think, the whole area is just blown away by what happened, because this isn't what we want. Everybody's been apologetic, and we're people at the hospital, and shame on anybody that. I'll be right back.
See anything like that when you were looking
I
over
didn't
that?
see anything, any hand going back. I mean, if that happened, it had to have been really quick. And
Did you see him grab him around the neck with his other hand? The way he described it is one arm came around his neck.
Coincidental as he was getting thrown to the ground. They might be, that's what I mean, they might be taking things out of context and mixing it in, marbling it in to make it fit, by saying that he grabbed or whatever. I mean, if I'm grabbing the cameraman, and he's tripping, he's going to be grabbing onto me falling down. I mean, and then you can say, oh, he grabbed me. We're like, of course, he was falling down. But there's no way he was aggressive towards the guy. And if anything, I mean, he might have made poor judgment in a couple things he said to him. But if that's all that officer could do to do that, he needs to not be on the force. He needs to go park cars or something. And all the good officers in town shouldn't be, should be raising an eyebrow to that kid, because he shouldn't have been in that position. Because there's lots of good police officers in this town. And the percentage of them that do stupid things like that I almost feel like, do you realize you live in Orlando with us? Or do you live in another state and you're bussed in here? Because we all live together. We're all here together. So for somebody beating up an old man, I'm like, he needs to go back to a class or something. It's just, and they can sit there and justify, and I heard the woman on that, even 84-year-old people can knock people out, and I'm like, I get that, but also police officers that are supposed to be trained should know enough to not have to do that. I mean, there's tons of officers that would have diffused that with the same, rhetoric, slapping on his shoulder, gave him a hug, anything, but he chose to just be a show-off in front of another officer. That's what I believe. What I have to say is, doesn't mean anything. I can just say what I saw. I can't speculate exactly what I heard, but for them to make him look like the bad guy, just shame on them.
And also, I think I read this somewhere, I don't know if it was on our website, but you said that you actually heard the thump when his body...
We heard his head hit the pavement over there.
What?
We heard his head hit the pavement. And Sean Hill, one of the closest witness that was over there, that I said, please, Sean, go over and, have Dan come back over before he elevates to where it did. And when he was over there, and I heard the thud, but he said it sounded like a coconut hitting the ground over there. And he's an 80, and the vertebrae the doctor said it is one of the worst snaps they've ever seen in a vertebrae. They said 9 out of 10 people would have died from the impact. Any age group, 20 to 90, and it's like he was an Army, vet. He was an Army intelligence, smart guy, nice guy, and just how it gets twisted around. I mean, I would hope that they, reevaluate the police, how they're looking at this, and instead of saying we're behind our own and everything, just look at the individual cop a little bit more, and I get camaraderie. I was in the Marine Corps. I get the whole brotherhood thing, but once in a while you need to check it, because crap like that shouldn't happen. Excuse me.
Did the police question you at all? Ask you about
I was so mad because I yelled at. Then I walked over and I said, "That's totally." I said obsessive. I meant to say excessive. And the female officer looked at me, and I could tell she had this look like maybe that was a little bit too far. And then when he came over here, the officer came over because we were yelling like, "Stop hurting him! What are you doing?" It's like if they have him down on the ground, and if they would have realized they just broke his neck, they wouldn't have been doing the whole knee in the back thing. And then the officer that had done it walked over to us, and he's trying to calm us down. He goes, "Do you want my sergeant?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "And the lieutenant and everybody else." I go, "What you just did was wrong." He goes, "Well, he was aggressive." And I said, and he's, he was in good shape. I said, "Dude, you're tougher than that. You're better than that." And he goes, "Well, I didn't know what he was going to do." And I said, "Come on, you were tougher than that, man." He goes, "Well," and then he kind of shuffled off. His sergeant showed up, and then they, it was like I just don't want him to shuffle this under the carpet because,
Do you know when
the story they want to stick to.
I think the son is going to have to file. There's a couple reviews that could happen. Some of them are generated, or some of them get started if the son, or if he survives, if he files a complaint. But there's an automatic review that says he used force, so that police automatically look at that. But they might say it's justified.
Well,
and it's a complaint from someone that gets looked at.
There's strength in numbers, and the police have the strength, and I would bet any amount of money, and I don't even gamble, that this is not gonna go the way of the family at all. I feel it because I've seen the way things have changed. I'm old enough to watch what's happened, for years. I've seen a lot of changes, and I see absolutely. It's almost like the separation a lot of times in the community between the police and the people, and even town hall and the people. It's really surprising. Again, I feel like they all realize we all live here. It's like one planet, one town. We're here, and